Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of our 4th Age Total War Dunland campaign. And we're starting off this one with the aftermath of the assault on Mickle Delving. This was just an auto-calc. We had a very small army inside. We had a fairly large army ourselves, and I didn't really want to micromanage it, so I just let the auto-resolve handle things. Now, it does bear mentioning that 4th Age Total War does have a bit better of an auto-resolve mechanic than you may be expecting if you're familiar with playing Rome Total War. In other words, the developers, Eridan in particular here, I believe put together a tool to allow the auto-manage to take into account things that the game doesn't take into account, but maybe should during those auto-resolves. But at any rate, we had about 100 or so losses. Really nothing too bad, nothing too unexpected. And so you can use that auto-resolve with a little more freedom, a little more sense of security, unless you are truly, truly paranoid about not losing one more man than you feel like you otherwise would. Go ahead, and it's okay to click that auto-resolve for some of those battles you don't want to deal with yourself. But we have conquered Mickle Delving. This is the province of the Shire. Now, there are 3 Shire provinces. There's West March over here. There is not Breeland, but Bucklebury is part of Buckland, yes. So there's 3 Hobbit provinces, essentially, but this was the one that is the Shire itself. Conquering that gave us the Malorn tree, which is a wonder in the Shire, and I'm not sure exactly what effects it has, other than the usual wonder stuff. Let's take a look at our settlement details here. Yes, we've got some public order bonus from the wonder of that Malorn tree. Now, as we're a bunch of dirty barbarians, we're not really going to be dealing with that too much, but, you know, it's always interesting to see these little buildings, because I never conquer the Shire, or I so rarely do, that I always miss out on things like this, with this very nice, you know, custom-made art for only like a couple settlements in the entire mod. So hats off to, I believe Joar would be the one responsible for this. This is our town hall. It's sort of like your settlement, your core settlement building, I guess. What else do we have down here? We've got, that's a nice looking trader. I guess that's one of the barbarian invasion ones. But for whatever reason, I don't often see that particular 2D picture of it. We've also got the Green Dragon, which is, of course, the famous inn in the Shire. And then we've got the Library of the Great Smiles. So some very neat stuff there. We will be getting rid of the Homeland Dominion because that was built by Adunabar. We don't really want it. And we're going to see if Tharbad will take this province. I'm not going to worry too much about West March. Maybe just leave that to rebels for now at any rate. But let's go down to our emissary, who is at Lond-Dare. We'll see if we give you the Shire, will you take it? All right, so we're going to give you the Shire, give you Mickle Delving, and 2,000 Mirian. And yeah, I figured that wouldn't be too hard of a sell. We probably could have just gifted that to them straight up. But with that, I think Mickle Delving is the most wealthy of the Shire settlements. It's certainly the one with the most villages. But as you will notice, there are no villages now. And that is because there is no settlement, there is no provincial dominion building constructed. So there's no land tax. Each one of those villages on the map, like we can see some here, and some here, represents land tax, which is coded like mining in the vanilla game. And so there is actually a relationship between these villages showing up on the map and your constructing of a dominion in the province. If you construct that dominion, the villages spring up. And more land tax means they get more wealthy and you get more wealthy. So it's a very interesting system. But we'll expect to see those villages grow as Tharbad makes use of it, assuming they can. I'm kind of curious. If we don't see villages pop up after a while, maybe I'm just going to have to gift them a bit of cash over and above what they already have to get them started on that construction. But for now, I think we can continue on. Maybe we can move these guys west to Bucklebury, give it the same treatment, and then see what we're going to do with this army. I'm thinking, though, that we are a little tattered after our few combats, and we may want to return for some merging, some retraining, and get some reinforcements up here. But retraining's boring. Let's just go hit this army, see if they'll stand around and fight. They won't. Let's hit them again, and we're going to have... we'll do this off camera. 3 Rider Spearmen. Well, actually, this is an opportunity to test out that auto-resolve button. See how that works. We could absolutely take this probably with 0 casualties. So let's see how well we do. We lost about 50 men, so not too bad. And we're going to basically clean them out. Now we'll move our spy over here. I do want to see if there's any big armies roaming around. Certainly nothing coming from the north, which is good. We do have another spy over here around Bree. And Bree does have a greater center of power, but basically south of Bree now is safe. Everything south of the Brandywine and south of the Great East Road is in the hands of our allies for the most part. So I think we can go ahead and move this army into the east, considering we're still on friendly territory. We have military access with Tharbad. They own the Shire, and until we get to Bucklebury itself, we'll be on friendly territory. Well, this is ominous news. We did receive notification between turns here that Adunabar has attacked Tharbad, and I guess it's not terribly surprising. I was kind of hoping that they would just avoid Tharbad, but maybe that's a little unrealistic. So they're basically putting Three Ways under siege at the moment, and I am honestly not sure how that's going to develop. Three Ways probably has... it says it's got 20 units in there. That's almost certainly going to be just the peasants at arms, maybe a couple units of mercenaries, but these are just going to be the free units that they got basically when we gave them the settlement diplomatically. So there's going to be nothing too substantial there. The army of Adunabar is commanded by a general, and closer up we can see that it's not too scary, honestly. It's just 3 units of swords. We could probably deal with it with these guys. So I think what we'll do, we'll take... let's see. We'll leave the governor of Tharbad in possession, and we'll take out the younger guy and pretty much everybody else. And we'll see if they're going to still be happy with us. Oh yeah, they love us. So we're going to move up to Three Ways and just kick this army back and just give Tharbad something to worry about. Meantime, though, we've got free reign to head over to Bucklebury and put that under siege, and we're probably going to be taking that in a couple of turns. We may need to fight this one ourselves, though, because we got a family member in there and a couple of swords. But we've been gathering reinforcements to help Edoras, which is once again under siege by this army of Rohan. They got 3 family members, and it looks like they're coming pretty aggressively for the walls. Now, for all of the equipment they're building, they only have 4 or 5 units of infantry that can make use of it. They've got 2 here, 3, 4, 5, and 6 actually. But some of these units are archers, some of them are very under strength, so this is not terribly concerning. The thing that is a problem is if we take a look at our army inside Edoras, we don't have that much great infantry of our own. We've got a couple of family members, one of whom is the ruler. So I think what I'll do is this. We'll go ahead and we'll move this army down to the bridge where they can theoretically reinforce. We'll get a few units to come in to sort of distract. When the army of Rohan attacks, I guess we can get these axemen down here as well. These guys can show up potentially as reinforcements, at least in dribs and drabs, and then we'll hopefully have that much of an easier time getting them off the field. Well, it looks like Adunabar is not going to allow us to besiege Bucklebury uncontested. They're sending a lieutenant with 3 sword units to attack us and back up Arngrim here, who is holed up inside the settlement. We'll see how this one goes. Alright, so this one is actually a bridge battle. The reinforcing army, the army that's attacking us, is coming from the western side of the river. The army of the garrison is coming from the eastern side, of course, way down there. So we've got some time to deal with these guys before we turn around and deal with the larger, but in some ways less concerning threat. This force in the garrison has a couple of those Ariador spearmen units. Really not that big of a problem, although they do have a family member leading them. This army, in some ways, is just, well, it's a little more cohesive, right? It's all swords. They're all a pretty good unit. So we'll have to, earn this battle. Now, I've tried to be clever again. I've dropped some wolf hunters in the woods here. Not really much chance of them springing an ambush on this army, but at least they may cause some fear when they emerge, in addition to their otherwise frightening appearance. I tried to hide them here, but they just wouldn't take. So those trees were not doing me any good. Let's see how much damage we're doing here to those dark swords. I think this was a full unit. We've taken them down by a 6th or a 7th, basically letting the auto skirmish do its thing while we get these guys thinned out. They should be routing fairly soon. Again, we have warhounds in this battle. I'm going to save them if I can for when that other army approaches. And instead, we're going to do stuff like, well, let's use our general here. Let's use our Axes of the Wolf. Now that everybody's in melee, they're going to get a little less friendly fire. We'll just push them in. They'll just shoulder in through the unit that's already there, so it's not going to be getting any flanking bonuses or anything. Not necessarily optimal. But maybe a little safer. They're not going to catch a javelin in the face. Maybe they'll catch it in the back of the head. Alright, we've got some wavering. These dark swords are charging at my bowmen, but you know what? Maybe I'll bring these guys out now. And see, okay, we've got the intimidated by nearby enemy message. Yeah, let's go ahead and have them throw javelins. Great, we've got routing happening here. We'll turn, this army's going to rout. This unit's going to rout rather. These guys are going to actually swim away, which can be disastrous. They can get caught or potentially even drown, I think. Alright, this should be the end for these guys. Wavering, flanked, broken. Okay, great. So let's pull them back to this little stand of trees. And again, everybody can just come back over here. As for the archers, yeah, I think we'll do the same thing. I'm not too concerned about getting every last unit. This is not a commander-led army. We do have a couple of pike units, very, very small. They could be of some use against the enemy general, I guess. Alright, this army's going all over the place. So they might be trying to find hidden units, or maybe just confused by being the reinforcements to an army that is now withdrawing. Well, once again, the AI is being really slow to do anything. So we're going to have to make some moves and try to entice them towards us. Again, we can see that they've got, I guess, 2 units of Dark Swords, 2 units of Aridor Spearmen, and 1 Adunabar Nobles unit. They're hanging pretty close to the trees, which is, again, possibly because some of my units are hidden and they're trying to flush them out. Alright, so they're moving now. Basically, the secret to making them move, apparently, is to act rather stupid on the battle map. Just kind of march in a haphazard fashion generally towards them, and they'll decide that it's okay. However, we're doing fairly well at the moment. We're probably going to take some decent losses. But our Axes of the Wolf are going after those Dark Swords. I think these guys are going to rout at any moment here. There they go. We'll turn around and deal with the Aridor Spearmen. Those guys are not going to be long in the field. Dunabar Nobles are winning. I kind of expected those would be the tough guys. But we've got our general now. He's free, and so he can start bringing his heavily armed axemen to bear. Again, these guys are good against armor, so you can see them already doing some nice damage. Alright, that's victory. We'll continue this. Maybe we can get the general here with our cav. He's going to just ride off the field. Nope, no need. We've killed him, and so that should be the end of the battle. Well, we've taken Bucklebury, but the Rohirrim are not allowing us to take a look at the settlement because on that same year, they are assaulting us at Edoras. So we're going to have to play this one out too. Alright, nothing too fancy here. We've got a couple of units coming on as reinforcements, and they're going to come on in dribs and drabs. The problem is they're going to come from the bottom of the hill, which is very, very unfortunate. Edoras, of course, is built on this very high hill. So here's all the rest of our army. They're going to come in pieces here. We've got some Dunland Huntsmen, but importantly, Spears of the Shadow. This is the unit I'm very happy to see joining us in the battlefield. I think for the first time here, actually. They're very nice-looking units. Got axes in their belts in addition to spears. Very interesting, forbidding-looking helmets. But let's run these guys for the gate. We want to get them inside, and we basically are using them as a fallback. What we're going to try to do, now that the army is marching, we're going to try to deal with these all of these infantry units, try to prevent some of these guys from getting to the walls. In particular, the ram here. If we can destroy this ram, we can do it maybe with javelin fire. If we can stop at least one of these towers from reaching the walls, then we can deal with the single or 2 units of infantry that are going to get in, and we're not going to allow those cavalry to melee with us. Inside, we've got really just a few, units of tribal pikes. We've got a couple general units. We do have our unit of Rohan spearmen levies that we trained up, and a few Dunlanding hillmen. The rest is archers. Archers are nice to have, but what we really need to do is quickly smash these axes of the mark. These guys are going to get up the tower, so I guess that means it's time to get our generals up here. Let's get Shield of Dunkriok up on the walls, too. I don't know if anything else should go up here. Maybe this guy. We'll bring the mace-wielding hillmen. And yes, we've routed this unit of axemen. Now I think it's time for the horses to come back inside the walls. Thankfully, this massive amount of cavalry did not bother to try to save their siege weaponry. Maybe they felt that there was no point in attempting it. And so we'll just have to wait for the battle for the tower here. Alright, the tower bridge is down, and we are going to be catching some arrow fire from our own men, which I think I'm going to actually... Let's do the smart thing here. Let's go ahead and pause that. There may possibly be some tower fire, but I think we're far enough away from those that we won't have to worry about it. We are going to potentially take some losses. We've got Shield of Dunkriok. This is the chieftain, the High Chieftain of Dunland, the faction leader here. Let's see if we can find where he is actually in this melee. Let's see. There he is, right here, with the very nice brown plume over his helmet, the cleaver-like axe, and he's got Harumor in his retinue, so pretty intimidating character. But that actually hurts his command stat a little bit. Not that that's going to matter in this battle. We're going to sandwich these guys pretty easily here, and then what's going to happen is all these cavalry are going to melt away into the hills down towards Aldburg. They've got 3 family members with them, and I don't think any of them are the king or prince, but they've got probably some good command stats, so these guys fought to the absolute death. But as you can see, there they go, and we're going to get the Battle 1 screen here momentarily. Yes, clear victory. We did take a few losses, but really nothing too bad. Oh, very active turn here. So we are getting an assistance request from Tharbad, and they want help from Diega of East Cardolan. And so this is probably 3 ways. Maybe they're assaulting, and we're going to be potentially backing them up. Let's click that. They just withdraw, I think, and we didn't get anything. Any losses to that army? I'll have to double check this, but in the meantime, we also just timed out our siege of Swanfleet. We're going to go ahead. I do want to keep this, so we will just occupy and lower the taxes and get started immediately on provincial pacification. This is I think a Tharbad-style province, so yeah, it's going to give a Ryador spearman and so on. Nothing too fantastic, but it is important because it controls basically this passage to the north towards Rivendell. In fact, there's nothing now between us and Adunabar in this direction. But I'm really glad we took that with 0 losses. We've got some good units here. Some of our Spears of the Shadow, a couple Wolf Hunters, some Orc Champions, some Cavs and Mercs. But this is, I think, a decently mixed army so that we can quickly move through this territory. And once we get up to about here, I think Adunabar will be much, much more manageable. We're going to have them completely bottled up. But let's take a look at 3 ways. Geez, I can't tell if we took any losses in that fight, like if that was just an auto-calc thing that happened off-screen, or if the army simply withdrew. But either way, I'm fairly happy with this. Yeah, I don't think we had any leftover forces. This is an army that came straight from Tharbad. We could put them back, actually, I suppose. Raid back into the settlement and move them out at a later date. So here's how I imagine this situation falling out now. Now that Adunabar is at war with Tharbad, we can't necessarily count on them serving as a buffer without our assistance, unfortunately. So we're going to have to keep an army somewhere around Tharbad, or at least around the Grey Flood, to periodically help out while we have another army moving up this side of the mountains. So I think that's what we're going to do. We are, of course, assembling units. We've got orcs, we've got spearmen and stuff. We've got a couple of seasons left for the orc den before we can start training some serious military guys. And then we can send them all up into the north to just completely flood Adunabar's production value, hopefully unexpectedly. We do have some units we can, I think, get to Swanfleet in a single turn, so that means we can just take this entire force, set them outside here. No mercenaries available, unfortunately, but let's take one of those spearmen, and actually, are 2 going to be required? Yes, they are not happy with us, even though the population is relatively low. We already have an emissary inside for whatever reason. Okay. Let's just keep him moving. I'm going to want one near the dwarves, I think. We will want to trade with them because we can take this province. Actually, I think we can take it now. Yeah, we can just occupy that straight up. Fantastic. Let's take a look. Austin Ethel, as you can see, has no building options. There's nothing we can build here. We will never be able to build anything here. We could get low taxes. That'll increase the population. That, in turn, will increase our taxable income, I guess. But we could just have it on normal taxes, and that would also increase our income overall. However, in the interest of increasing the authority of our faction leader, I am going to keep it on low taxes because that's going to just help that out. Now, this is a little unhappy with us because it is officially Ways of the Shadow Cult. But they're going to get over that. They're going to be happy with it because we've got a family member inside that's helping things out. We've got a couple of buildings. Remember, this is the bonus that we get because we are Dunland and we took Edoras. So that basically includes a 10% cultic building bonus in all of the settlements that you own. So we've got that. Gives us a little bit of an edge. And with a character in there, that'll slowly start to convert things. It might, however, be worthwhile bringing somebody else in the area, at least temporarily. But this is a very different looking map than we had just a short while ago, where we've got Tharbad stretching up beyond the Brandywine and our own forces up above. What is this, the Swanfleet or the Glanduin? And last season was not only an active one in terms of battles, but in terms of construction. We built 3 major provinces: Dunkreok, Dunfrecka, and Greyholm. That is just fantastic. And it means that we are now able to work towards the settlement specialization buildings in all of those places. Let's take those, take a closer look at those. At Dunkreok, yeah, let's just go for it. Let's get that going. I think what we're going to go for here is, I think we're financial currently. Or actually, we're not. We haven't established a policy. But I think we're going to go with finances and probably the hunting parties is what we're going to do there. That's what I usually like to do for a little bit of income and experience for your ranged units. Dunfrecka, we're going to go probably for some kind of military thing. Since we can at this point, and we already have some good military infrastructure. Oh, did we just switch? We switched again. We're no longer cultic, so what does that mean about this? Okay, we can't train any orcs anymore. All right. That's fine. This is all temporary. See, I mentioned this in a previous video. We would be flipping back and forth potentially between cultic and non-cultic. And so this actually gives us an opportunity. If we can hold off on being cultic for just a little while, we can get to the point where we can build our native Eisenmarch riders. And that would be nice because we've got a unit, a tiny fragment of a unit still kicking around from the very beginning of the campaign. We could retrain him, train another couple of units or 2, and then get back to cultic business. So let's go ahead and queue the Warlord's Barracks up. We'll get going on that. Well, Bucklebury does have a slightly unique building. It's got the Library of Brandy Hall. And so this is just a nice lore nod to Merry Brandybook, establishing a library there in the 4th Age after his adventures. So that's very cool. Now, we could destroy it if we just wanted to be jerks. I don't know that I have the heart to do it, even on a Dunlanding evil campaign. But we will get rid of the Homeland Dominion for Adunabar here to get a little bit of cash back. And let's see. The forces of Adunabar have not put this settlement under siege yet. And they have not taken back Westmarch either. So maybe we're distracting them enough that we could give this to Tharbad as well, and Adunabar would not take it back. Let's give them Bucklebury and just 1,000 Mirian, and they're fine with that as well. All right, but I think it is time to return this army down the back way, so to speak. We'll go through the Shire, past Last Bridge. We want to get them back to our capital because we can now retrain these wolf hunters. If we can keep them as 4 distinct units, that means not losing too many more of these guys with only 9 left, then we can quickly have 4 completely fresh units of wolf hunters back at Dunharrow or at Dunhold. And let's see, is there anything else I should train now that I still can? Some nice armored tribal pikes. Seems like they might be a pretty decent choice. Well, I'd say that's a pretty good point to end the episode, actually. We have made quite a dramatic shift back to our native traditions, the ways of darkness, and that gives us some opportunities with regards to training and retraining. And let's take a little tour of what we've done so far in the past couple of episodes. We have pushed north of the Swan Fleet. We are now threatening Rivendell and the western flank of the northern Misty Mountains. Pushed north of the Grey Flood, of course, and planted our protectorate state. Oh no, I'm just noticing this. Okay, this is yeah. How did I not see that before? We're gonna get slammed in the next episode. Okay, we're gonna get hit by this 2 family members, very well balanced army. It looks like of Adunabar, who is really gonna make it hard for these guys to return home. This feels like. What was that episode from Roman history? It wasn't the Teutoburg ambush, but Legion, like, just trying to get back. Maybe I'm thinking of Xenophon. In any case, we're trying desperately to get back to home territory, and I don't think these guys are going to allow us to do it. So it'll be interesting to open up the next episode with a big doomed battle, and we'll see if we can preserve these wolf hunters. But otherwise, things are looking fairly good in the north. We've managed to hold on the territory that our protectorate has in their possession. And sort of as a corollary to that, we can take a look at our provinces controlled, a number of which is sitting at 23 currently. Now, this takes into account the provinces that our protectorate owns. We do not have 23 settlements. We've got, I don't know, it feels like 2/3 of that or so. But the settlements that we gift to Tharbad are going to count for this. Now, sadly, that doesn't trigger the victory video. So if I conquer 17 more settlements and give them all to Tharbad so that this shows as 40, but I've got less than 40 myself personally, that's not going to trigger the victory video. But who cares? That's just a little, sort of cherry on top. I would say that by that point, if I get to a point where this number is showing the 40 provinces and I've done everything else, then I would call that a personal moral victory myself. In any case, what else? We've got down here the last vestiges of rebels hold up in Dunfata. 3 seasons left for them. They're possibly going to sally on the last turn. We'll have to see. But I'm very pleased with our borders with Rohan for the most part. We've got Arendal remaining utterly quiet, and Aldburg is certainly manageable. And our setup of the Bjornings in the Easthold is working like a charm. So far, things are going fairly well, and in a few seasons, possibly in the next episode, or the one after that, we will shift back to the cult and be able to train up some of our Orcish and cultic units. But I imagine that the next episode is going to be more fighting in the north in Eriador, and hopefully up around Rivendell. I'll see you then.